Alright, Shalom Hebrews. This is Israel being Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Okay, Hebrews, check this out. Now, I've been reading and studying, you know what I'm saying? And I've been passing this knowledge on to the Israelite community. And, we're going to get it together. And we're going to be able to see this truth together. Okay, Hebrews, how about the Jewish people during Muhammad's time were not Israelites? And how about Muhammad viewed those Edomite, Sephardi Jews as Israelites? And, a religion come about because that, because he thought that the Jewish people were the Israelites. And that, because of whatever wrongness that they was doing, they called them the people of the book. But how about they were not the people of the Torah or the Tanakh? And how he didn't have no knowledge of the real Israelites during his time. Now, this like 1,200 years later when Muhammad come about. What, about 600 some AD? How about the real Israelites been gone since the Babylonian Wars, or the little remaining that was be left, the exiles, like 1%, and I showed that they was destroyed by the Greeks, as well as history hint this and show this, because the Edomites came into the land, and the Hebrews wouldn't have been able to live with the Edomites and the Scythians and all our enemies living in the promised land, being that the exiles were like a little small number. And I got a video showing how they only lived in one little area in Judah after the Babylonian Wars, and how that when the Persians defeated the Babylonians and allowed that little bitty percentage to come home, and how they only lived in Judah, and how they vanished by time Greek time come, and how it wouldn't be no Israelites in the land, and how that the people during Muhammad time were the Sephardi Jews, and specifically the Sephardims. The Sephardims gonna be the Sephardi that is mixed with the Arab tribes, and then that will, make the Sephardis, who are Sephardims, Edomite Sephardims. It wasn't no Israelites during Muhammad's time. So whatever religion that was created, that's like Christianity. It wasn't no Israelites during the New Testament time. The New Testament come 500 years after the Tanakh closed, after the book of Malachi, 430 BC, the last prophet, because it was over with. The covenant was broken. The covenant was been broken since the beginning of the Babylonian Wars, because the Creator sent for the Babylonians to chase us off the land, who would be Ashkenazi, the Scythians, the people from the north, men of us. And I got plenty of videos going into all their history, and how that them people would chase us into Africa by way of Egypt, for saying that we wanted to worship the African Egyptian religion. So all the tribes went into Africa, and you can see this in Tanakh, how no Hebrews went to the Edomite inheritance to live. I can show you that the Hebrews were saved in, like, at the beginning of the Babylonian War. People gonna be scattered and gonna be running into all kind of little places, and I can show how the Edomites and the Amorites and the Moabites tried to open up their doors to gobble us up real fast, and how that the forces, the Hebrew Israelite armed forces, saved the Israelites from going into the Edomite land. See, we have to go to the Tanakh to get understanding about our history. We just can't embrace all these religions and say, hey, this is cool because the stories sound cool. Ah, man, you got to do some research. And I'm here to tell you that during the time that these religions are created off Judaism, and the prophet Abraham ain't endorsed none of these religions, what they call Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Prophet Abraham ain't endorsed none of that. Prophet Abraham served Almighty Yah, and his seed by way of promise from Almighty Yah was to inherit the land. And Prophet Abraham was just an example of righteousness and standing upright among idol worshippers that was all around him. From Egypt, he even went into Egypt. He left Mesopotamia where the Amorites control. He didn't worship their gods. Then he went to Egypt and stayed there. He didn't worship their gods. Then he went to Canaan, which was another set of the Amorite gods, and he didn't worship their gods. And how he was promised Canaan. You know what I'm saying? And how now all these religions done sprung up off that. And man, it's crazy because Prophet Abraham ain't endorsed none of these religions. In Prophet Abraham history is in the Tanakh. Now we know that the Jews, the Sephardi Jews, the Sephardim, went all into Arabia, wherever there was trade at, wherever there was trade close to the promised land, wherever there was trade close to the promised land, and you best believe that those Sephardi Jews was gonna be there, and they was all down in Medina, in Mecca. You know, that's Medina right there. You know, they was all there, and it's Jews that was there. You know, it was Jews that was there in Medina. Guess why? Guess why? Because all this is Edom's inheritance. All this is Edomite inheritance. You know, you got the Ammonites, the Moabites, but all them got sucked up into the Edomite Amorite heritage. And then, you know, they would kind of like become one. But how, like Edom's son's kids, Teman and Oman, you know, those are Eliphaz's sons, and Eliphaz is Edom's son, and this is their inheritance and so forth, you know. And it was a lot of Jews living in Medina, but those are going to be the Edomite Jews that had settled in the promised land after we Israelites had left, and also from the conversion of this dude named John Harnicus. You know what I'm saying? One of those Amorite, Edomite, one of those Amorite Jews, the Sephardis, converted the Edomite tribes in 130 BC under this dude named John Harnicus. And I'm going to show that. And then how that, you know, those Edomite, you know, tribes will be the ones that Muhammad would be thinking that were Israelites, especially in the 600 AD and around them parts. Man, it wasn't no Israelites, you know what I'm saying, around in this area, and how all the Israelites, man, gonna be over men in these parts, you know, getting ready for the transatlantic slave trade, us having it out with the Africans and so forth, and our water supply drying up on us. But how did no Hebrews went to Saudi Arabia to live in the enemy's land? And I can show you that we classified that as an enemy land and been knew that since King David time, as well as us coming out of Egypt, and how Edom pulled the sword out on us and wouldn't let us come past his land, and how he was classified as an enemy for going into those Hittites and so forth. And then how that Edom would get our heritage during the Babylonian Wars, and everybody acknowledged this. Everybody acknowledged this, but what they don't want to acknowledge is that the Israelites, the real Israelites ran into Africa to live and had abandoned their heritage to some Amorites from Babylon, some Babylonian scribes, some people real serious from Sippar, Sephardim. And man, I'm talking about the most serious people on the face of this earth, and they are responsible for Western civilization and Western culture, and then how that they was placed in our land in 722 BC, and how we never said nothing during Assyrian times, that when we ran off 134 years later into Africa, we abandoned our heritage to them. And then how when we all went into Africa, and then how that they would, mate with the other, Moabite tribes and Ammonites, and they would bring them into this religion called Judaism that they created. And then those Jews would go all into Saudi Arabia, they inheritance, because they was Edomites already, and how they had trade in Medina and in Mecca and all these places, especially in Yemen. It's a branch of those Jews, those Edomite Jews from Yemen, went over into Ethiopia and became the Ethiopian Jews, as well as going down to Zimbabwe and so forth, and becoming them Limbas, the Limbas and so forth. And how I got videos explaining how the black Jews are not Israelites, and how that they come off converts and then come off those tribes, those Jewish tribes that come from the Edomite territories and so forth. And man, I'm gonna show you Hebrew something, and then look here, John Harnicus. Look, Harnicus. Then, all right, Harnicus also initiated a military campaign against the Edomites. During his campaign, let me see. All right, let's do this. During his campaign, Harnicus conquered. All right, Harnicus conquered Ador, Mission, and other Edomite towns, and Harnicus then instituted forced conversion on the Edomites to Judaism. You know what I'm saying? So, in 130 BC, all the Edomite tribes would have been then converted to Judaism, but I can show that they kind of did it before then, around the Babylonian Wars, when we were saved from going into the Edomites' territories. We had some armed forces that saved the people that was left over from the Babylonian wars, that the ones that he left in the land, because it was a whole bunch of them had took off into Africa. Probably the first time that the Babylonians came, that they took off into Africa. And then this is what I want to know, that during that time, the northern kingdom was been destroyed, and how it wasn't no Israelites worshiping the covenant in the northern kingdom since Jeroboam brung the Egyptian religion out of Egypt around about 931 BC. So, the northern kingdom was over and got destroyed during the Assyrian times, when the Assyrians took the army away, 3 tribes to fight against the Scythians. And I'm going to show how the Scythians, destroyed Assyria, and then, what come to our land under the name Chaldean, and how history been real quiet about the Scythians, who is Ashkenazi, that settled in the Promised Land during the Babylonian Wars, but how they'll try to attach them to other empires that invaded later and so forth. But how Ashkenazi been in the Promised Land since the Babylonian Wars under the name Scythian, and how did they control the Chaldean Empire. They controlled the Chaldean Empire, and they settled in Scythopolis, a real important part of the Promised Land that's called Beth Shean. And I showed that could no Israelites live with them. Could no Israelites live with them? And when the exiles come back from the Babylonian captivity from Mesopotamia area, and how did they settle in Judah and how they disappeared real fast. But check this out, Hebrews. Muhammad didn't know that the Jews of his time were not Israelites. He didn't know, as well as Jesus didn't know that the people in where he was were not Israelites. Were not Israelites. And let me show you how history is so baffling, and they can't cover this era up, and how people just so sleep and just ignorant to this. How Jesus went to Egypt, to Africa, and that's where the whole Hebrew nation fled to during the Babylonian Wars 500 years before Jesus was born. And how did they never come back out of Africa after the Babylonians were defeated by the Persians, and the exiles come back home from Babylon, the little tenth, the little 1%, and how did the ones that went into Africa, the 99% that went into Africa to worship the Egyptian religion, never came back to be reunited with them after the Persians defeated the Babylonians. And how did the Tanakh plainly, show this, and how Jesus didn't know this at all, and he didn't even know that the Israelites ran into Africa, and how I showed that the people in the New Testament era were about 12 different nations that had settled during the Babylonian Wars when we was all messed up. Once the covenant was broken, we had to get off the land, and then didn't know. And this is the thing. When the covenant was broken and we was driven off the land, we wasn't driven off the land doing the covenant, practicing Moses' law, the laws that we got from the Creator. We wasn't driven off the land for practicing the covenant. That is crazy, and people can't even comprehend this. Show you how strong that the Babylonian scribes got everybody mind messed up. When the Hebrews were driven off the land, they wasn't driven off the land for doing the covenant. They was driven off the land out of the promised land for doing Egyptian religion. And how did that never change? And how we could have had the opportunity to come back and be a covenant people in world history, like the transatlantic slave trade, wouldn't have never happened. Wouldn't have never happened. So that those Hebrews that was driven out the land didn't go into other parts to practice the covenant. Tanakh history showed that we abandoned the covenant, and we abandoned it to those Sephardi Jews who were not the real Israelites, but people that was practicing our heritage. Now, how did they would go to other lands and practice the covenant, and it wouldn't be no big thing, and how the world would be fooled and deceived, thinking that the Israelites were in other lands practicing the covenant when the original Israelites were driven out the land for breaking the covenant, for not doing the covenant. But how a group of people that was placed in the land during the Assyrian troubles did the covenant, and how that they went to other lands, and then how that they merged in with the peoples that were Israelite enemies, and then went to their lands as Israelites, and then how did the enemies accepted them as Israelites. Big old con game. Big old con game, but we Israelites finna bring that mess to a stop. We finna bring it to a stop. And the Israelite brotherhood ain't going. We ain't finna keep letting these folks step on our heritage and step on us and mislead us. That's like Farrakhan. The only reason the enemies ain't got Farrakhan is because Farrakhan take millions of Hebrews out their heritage. Millions of them. Man, he like the #1 prize right now with taking Israelites out their heritage, because Israelites been flocking to Farrakhan thinking that he got some type of special power, and his special power come from the Jews, and allowing him to take Israelites out their heritage. I got to get that in. Man, that's awful. But check this out, Hebrews. The people during Muhammad time were not the Israelites. So all religions created based upon those people that were not Israelites make all the religions incorrect. And how that the Creator word still stand in the Tanakh, where he say that he gonna redeem the real Israelites, and they gonna represent him and be the representation of him on planet Earth, and how all nations gonna have to come to him, and how that's still on track. That's still on track, and that can't be changed. But let me show you, Hebrews, how we were saved from going into the Edomites' heritage. And once it's in the Tanakh and shown, that's locked in, and can't nobody come back and create no additional history to try to say otherwise, because we locked that in. That's what happened. That era is gone. And how we know that the Babylonian scribes will create additional history and claim it as Israelite history. All right, Hebrews, check this out. This is during the Babylonian Wars. Prophet Jeremiah was dealing with us. He was around during King Josiah time. The enemies had killed King Josiah, the Egyptians, because they had to do trade across the promised land, and how the Egyptians wanted us on their religion from day one, and how it was a battle with us, with the Egyptians, with not trying to be embraced into their culture to be destroyed. It was a battle, and how we succumbed to it, and how the Egyptians destroyed us, the Hamites. Yes, the Hamites. And how that they destroyed us and tricked us into Africa to do their religion. And that's what caused the transatlantic slave trade. And all the Hebrews were taken from Africa to slavery, and how it took 275 years, man, to do it. But look here, this showed that wasn't no Hebrews being taken to Arabia and all them parts. And this is during the Babylonian Wars, and it was recorded by us. And we can show that our people were saved from going into the Ammonite, Moabite heritage by our forces. Like the Israelite Brotherhood is a force trying to save our people from being steadily misled and going into these religions that started off wrong and off wrong information. Look. All right, this is Jeremiah 40. This is during the Babylonian Wars. The Babylonians came in and them busters up. They done took a few people to Babylon the first time. That's what the book of Hezekiah is gonna be about. That's around about 595 BC. We dealing with Prophet Jeremiah around about 16 years after that. We couldn't get our act together, and how we just kept on doing the Egyptian religion and robbing and killing and stealing from each other. And then how the Babylonians showed up, the people from the north, Ashkenazi. They had just come from destroying the Assyrian Empire. And then, man, they was coming to get us up off the land, because, we was on Egyptian religion. The Egyptians had killed King Josiah, who had cleaned us up from the Egyptian religion for 31 years, after being on it for 300 something years. And then King Josiah was born, and he cleaned us up of the Egyptian religion for 31 years. And then the Egyptians killed him, and then put us back on the Egyptian religion. And then we all going to Africa. But during this time, something real slick and sneaky tried to go down. How that the enemies tried to draw some of our folks into their territories, but how we were saved. And man, we all went into Africa, together at one people. Man, I'm going to start Jeremiah 40. All right, the Elohim that come, the word that came to Jeremiah, the word that came to Jeremiah from the Elohim after that, Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, had let him go from Ramah, when he had taken him, being bound in chains, among all that were carried away captive of Jerusalem and Judah, which were carried away captive unto Babylon. And the captain of the guard took Jeremiah and said unto him,
the Elohim thy Yah had pronounced this evil upon this place. Now the Elohim had brought it and done according as he had said. See, our enemies know that the Creator had sent them to meant to do us in. Alright. Because ye have sinned against the Elohim and have not obeyed his voice. Therefore this thing is come upon you. And now behold, I loose thee this day from the chains which were upon thy hand. If it seem good unto thee to come with me into Babylon, come, and I will look well unto thee. But if it seem ill unto thee to come with me into Babylon, forbear, behold, all the land is before thee. Whether it seemeth good and convenient for thee to go, thither go. Now, while he was not yet gone back, he said, go back also to Gedaliah, the son of Hakim, the son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon had made governor over the cities of Judah, and dwell with him among the people, or go whatsoever it seemed convenient unto thee to go. Now, during this time, the Babylonians done bust us up. They done took the carpenters and the craftsmen and snatched a little percentage of us up. Took them to the Mesopotamia area to do some work. You know what I'm saying? And left this brother named Gedaliah in charge as governor. And then it's this brother named Ishmael, the son of Nathan, tried to, came and killed him. And then, he took the people that was up under Gedaliah's control and tried to take them into the Ammonite Edomites holdings and stuff into their territories, and how we were saved. So this would stop, showing, this would show that did no Hebrews go into the Edomites' heritage, as they try to say, and as history showed that them old Sephardim Jews that Muhammad thought was Israelites were not. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, any religion coming off them or associating with them can't be right. And then that's why you see all this blood killing in the world with these religions and so forth. Because, man, the roots ain't right. All right, look, check this out. All right. Man, I'm on Jeremiah 46. Then went Jeremiah unto Gedaliah the son of Hakim to Mizpah, and dwelt with him among the people that were left in the land. Now, that's probably where all the leaders and stuff gonna be at. Now, when all the captains of the forces were in the fields, now they had to get on down because the Babylonians done come in there, and then they had the Scythians with him. The Babylonians, the Chaldeans, were made of Scythians, expert bow shooters with crossbows and stuff. And man, how them folks were no joke. And then how did them folks, man, chased us, man, about the promised land, and how we were scared of them. Because the Scythians, man, when they captured you, they'll put your body parts. They'll put your body parts, they'll cut your head off, and then put your head on a horse and ride around with it. And then they would skin you alive and make jackets and quivers and stuff out of your skin. And how they was way worse than Assyria with far as being barbarians and stuff. And man, we didn't want no dealings with them when them folks pulled up on us in them skeletons and them bear skins and just looking pure crazy, coming from the Caucasus Mountain, from off in them caves, and then they on horses riding with axes and bows and looking real crazy. And how did that scared us, and how we took off when we seen them folks. And then, man, them folks came into the promised land, and man, them folks wasn't no joke. And the Creator, if Almighty Yah seeing how wicked we was and how we could fight, that if Almighty Yah sent for some people to get us up off the land and to bring us into judgment, that he gonna send for some serious people, because we something serious as Israelites, as Tanakh history show how we'll fight and stand up. But when Almighty Yah sent for them folks from the north, Ashkenazi, it was over with. It was over with. We couldn't fight those folks. Man, them folks come with a whole new way of fighting. You know what I'm talking about? Man, they had crossbows to shoot hollow point arrowheads at you. And man, them folks, man, catch you, man, they'll tear you apart. Man, they'll tie you up on the horses and split you into pieces. Man, them folks was brutal. And man, them folks wasn't born none. Alright? Them arrowheads right there. Scythian arrowheads. Now, this go to show that if a whole bunch of Scythian arrowheads is all over the promised land, everywhere, and man, I'm talking about, man, they shot the promised land up to where that the folks are still finding arrowheads today. They could walk out their door right now and dig in the ground and probably find a couple of Scythian arrowheads, and how that they was everywhere. Scythian trilobite arrowheads were found in Tel Megidim, Abtalib, Medigo, Kisan, Quashna, Samaria, Tel Michael, Gezer, Tel Nabas, Jerusalem, in the city of David, Katib, Hanam, and on the southwestern hill at Ashkelon, Ishkron, Ashdod, Tel Batash, El Hasi, Lachish, Beth Shemesh, Galim. Man, the name go on and on. Man, it's just one page that I covered and showed where the Scythian arrowheads was found. And remember, the Scythians made up the Chaldean nation. As I can show this right now, and it's one of the quietest history on the face of this earth, is that our enemies be trying to be quiet on Ashkenazi history, and how that they come into the promised land, and how they just want you to think that Ashkenazi just showed up when they got to Germany. The Jews from the promised land went to Germany, and then they become Ashkenazi from there. Oh, that's false. And how Ashkenazi name is in history, Eshku, the Seeker, and so forth, and how that the Assyrians had way recorded dealings with Ashkenazi, and how Ashkenazi name in history is Scythian, and the Scythians settled in Scythopolis during the Babylonian Wars, but they'll try to say that they settled later. They real slick about that. And Ashkenazi been hiding their history, but they can't hide their history from the Israelite Brotherhood. All right, look. Tigris Pomponius, this man, a historian. The Scythians possessed the land of Chaldea in Mesopotamia for 1,500 years before any other nation, and they were the oldest people of the earth, varying even the Egyptians. You know, because Ashkenazi heritage gonna go back to Gomer, who was the son of Japhet. And it's probably a fact that Ashkenazi is older than Mesrim, who would be Egypt's name, you know, Egypt's real name, you know. All right, so we know that the Scythians controlled and possessed Chaldea. That's a fact right there. And then we know that the Scythians made up the Chaldean army when Assyria was being destroyed. You know, they destroyed Assyria and wiped them off the face of the map. You see what I'm saying? Wiped them off the face of the map, and these are the nations. Now, this is what they've been doing since the Israelite Brotherhood been exposing how the Scythians is Ashkenazi, and how that they was there during the Babylonian Wars, and how that these documents are starting to become rare now. They starting to become rare now, where you can see Ashkenazi name associated with the Babylonian Wars under the name Scythian, and then how that those Scythians were settled in Scythopolis. You know what I'm saying? And then that would be Ashkenazi right there. And then Ashkenazi would be in our land when the Greeks came, and when the Romans came and got built up. And then how that they would be seen as Jews and Israelites after a while, as the New Testament showed us how Jesus was confused about these people. And I got Jesus going into their synagogues. You know, that's like Hebrews will say, those are the synagogue of Satan, who say they are Jews and are not. Thinking that they done said something real slick to the, you know, about the Caucasians and stuff, or the non-pigmented peoples, or the Edomites, thinking that they done said something slick, whereas in the New Testament era, it was about 300 some synagogues wrapped around her Edomite temple, and Jesus went into those synagogues to teach and to party and kick it with them folks, and how that some of them wasn't in agreement with him and hated him and wanted to get him and throw him off mountains and so forth, and how that all them synagogues wasn't in agreement with him. So he gonna say those are the synagogue of Satan, who say they are Jews and are not. And plus how Jesus was an Edomite, Sephardi, and he knew Ashkenazi history. I got videos going into all this history, but we see that how the Scythians made up the Scythians made up the Chaldeans army, and I just showed you in history how that they took Chaldea over so that they will settle in Beth Shean. And Beth Shean is the is where the Scythopolis was, and how that, you know, look, men, around look what it says. And around 700 BC, the city was deserted and unoccupied. They talking about Beth Shean, that they call Scythopolis. Now this is during the Babylonian Wars. You know what I'm saying? Around about that time, the city was deserted and unoccupied until the Hellenistic period, when it became known as Scythopolis, the city of the Scythians. But I showed that that's false, because they had settled there during the Babylonian Wars, you know, and how that they had took Chaldea over, and then how did the Chaldeans controlled the Promised Land, man, for about 50, 60 years, till the Persians defeated them in around about 538 BC. But how that the Chaldeans had control of the Promised Land since around about 588 BC, when they drove us into Africa. And then let me finish reading this, because I never did finish reading how did no Hebrews go into Edom's inheritance, and how that those were either Ashkenazi, but there was the Sephardi Jews, the Sephardims. All right, so we know that Jeremiah got cut loose from the Babylonians and so forth, and how he had went to go kick it with Gedaliah, Hakim, the son of Shaphan, whom the king of Babylon had made governor of the cities of Judah, and dwelt with him among the people. You know what I'm saying? So then went Jeremiah unto Gedaliah, the son of Hakim, to Mizpah, and dwelt with him among the people that were left in the land. Now when all the captains of the forces were in the fields, even they that and their men heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah, the son of Hakim, governor in the land, and had committed unto him men, women, and children of the poor of the land, of them that were not carried away captive to Babylon. Then they came to Gedaliah to Mizpah, even Ishmael, the son of Nathan. You see this Ishmael gonna try to take the people to the Edomites, but we're gonna get saved and all go into Africa. Look, even Ishmael, the son of Nathan, and Johanan, and Jonathan, the son of Ker, and Sarah, the son of Tenhemeth, and the sons of Ephah, the Nephathite, and Jazaniah, the son of Mishathite, they and their men, and Gedaliah, the son of Achim, the son of Shaphan, swore unto them and to their men, saying, Fear not to go and serve the Chaldeans, and dwell in the land, and serve the king of Babylon. And it shall be well with you. And as for me, behold, I will dwell at Mizpah to serve the Chaldeans, which will come unto us. But ye gather your wine and your summer fruits and oil, and put them in your vessels, and dwell in your cities that ye have. You know, so the Chaldeans come in, they're going to be the military force, and how they going to lead the Po there, and how the Po man going to take off into Africa. You know what I'm saying? And then how did this one dude tried to trick us? Look, likewise, all the, they try to sneak that word in there, Jew. But all the Jews that were in Moab and among the Ammonites and in Edom, and that were in all the countries, heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant of Judah, and that he had set over them Gedaliah the son of Achim, the son of Shaphan. See, they gonna take off at the beginning of the war. You know, at the beginning of the war, the Babylonians coming, right? The Babylonians coming. You know, the people gonna scatter, meaning to these little parts, and then I'm showing that these little parts, man, is gonna be Edom's them territory right here. You see, you know they gonna get on down when the Scythians came, man, on them horses and so forth, and then you see right here, man, they gonna get down. This is where they, you know what I'm saying, this is where they at in Mespar, right over there. Alright. So, alright. So, you know, war come, they're going to be coming from that way, and how everybody going to scatter, probably going into all these little places and stuff, you know, the little Edomite holdings. But soon as the Babylonians dip, and it look like they ain't deep, then how the people going to come back out and go back over to their parts and so forth. You know, where we had control of that, and that's what happened. So ain't nobody go to Edom or the Ammonites territories. We all left from there. Look, likewise, when all the Judeans that were in Moab and among the Ammonites in Edom and that were in all the countries heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant of Judah, and that he had set over them Gedaliah the son of Achim the son of Shaphan, even all the Judeans returned out of all the places where they were driven, and came to the land of Judah, to Gedaliah unto Mizpah, and gathered wine and summer fruits very much. So look, they done come after the Babylonians and then let up a little bit, and then they done come out and then go back to their parts where they people at, and how everybody deserted the Edomite Amorite holdings and so forth, and we went back to the holdings where the rest of our peoples was. All right. Moreover, Johan the son of Ker and all the captains of the forces that were in the fields come to Gedaliah to Mizpah. You know, they done got scattered and stuff because the Babylonians done come in and burnt the city up, and done burnt the temple up, and done burnt a whole bunch of houses up. So, you know, they gonna scatter and get on down and stuff. Fight a little guerrilla warfare. You know, we ain't a standing army fighting on the battlefield. It's guerrilla warfare time now. So they gonna come out when they see that it's clear, and you know, to get with the people and stuff. All right, let me see. So Johan and the captains of the forces, you know, come out the fields. You know what I'm saying, to Mizpah. All right, maybe I'm on 40:14, and said unto him, doest thou certainly know that Belias the king of the Ammonites had sent Ishmael the son of Nathan to slay thee? But Gedaliah the son of Hakim believed him not. See, everybody done come up out of them, and then took their talents and they wealth and their knowledge about them Edomite holdings, and the Edomite kings and stuff gonna probably want to slay Gedaliah and scatter the people back into his lands and so forth, so we could perish real fast, as I could show that the Edomite holdings were our enemies and so forth. All right, look, and said unto him, doest thou certainly know that Belias the king of the Ammonites had sent Ishmael the son of Nathaniel to slay thee? But Gedaliah the son of Hakim believed them not. Then Johan the son of Ker spake to Gedaliah in Mizpah secretly, saying, let me go, I pray thee, and I will slay Ishmael the son of Dan, and no man shall know it. Wherefore shall he slay thee, that all the Judeans which are gathered unto thee should be scattered. See, they was wanting to scatter us into the Edomites holdings. Look, and the remain of Judah perish, because you're going to perish fast if you in the Edomites holdings. And the Tanakh showed the long history that we had with those folks battling, and the animosity that we had, that you know that they going to open their door when trouble comes, so you can get in there and they can close the door on you. You know what I'm saying? And you don't be seen no more. Is what Edom tried to do to us during the Babylonian Wars and so forth. All right. Them to slay Ishmael. All right. But Gadiah the son of Hakim said unto Johan the son of Ker, thou shalt not do this thing, for thou speakest falsely of Ishmael. Now we know the Hebrews. Now 9 out of 10, his mama, Ishmael mama, gonna be Ammonite. You know what I'm saying? As I remember and stuff. Now it's known that the people that we mix with, that they kids will sell us out to the people that they are kin to, and this was happening to the people and stuff. But check this out. Look, now it come to pass, this is Jeremiah 41. Now it come to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael the son of Daniel, the son of Elishma of the seed Roa, and the princes of the king, even 10 men with him, came to Gadiah the son of Akim to Mespah, and there they did eat bread together in Mespah. Then rose Ishmael the son of Nathaniel, and the 10 men that were with him, and smote Gadiah the son of Akim the son of Shaphan with the sword, and slew him whom the king of Babylon had made governor over the land. And Ishmael also slew all the Judeans that were with him, even with Gadiah at Mespah, and the Chaldeans that were found there. That's going to be a garrison. And the men of war. You see, so that's gonna make the Babylonians come back. That's gonna make the Chaldeans come back now. Look, and it come to pass the 2nd day after he had slain Gadiah, and no man knew it. Then there came certain of from Shittim. Now these gonna be probably the Sephardims for real. The Jews for real. The Sephardims coming from Samaria to kick it at the promised land. You remember they been coming to the promised land since King Hezekiah days, and I can show that how that the strangers came to Samaria. The strangers from Samaria came to Jerusalem during the Passover, when he had the Passover, and how that they was the strangers placed in 722 BC in Samaria, the Sephardims, by the Assyrians. All right, and Ishmael also slew all the Judeans that were with him, even Gadiah at Mespah, and the Chaldeans that were found there, in the men of war. And it come to pass the 2nd day after he had slain Gadiah, and no man knew it, that there came certain from Shittim, from Shiloh, and from Samaria. Look, from Samaria, even 80 men, having their beards shaven and their clothes rent, and having cut themselves with offerings and incense in their hands. Then this gonna be them Sephardims. This gonna be them Sephardims, to bring them to the house of the Lord. And Ishmael the son of Nathaniel went forth from Mespah to meet them, weeping all along as he went. And it come to pass, as he met them, he said to them, come to the Gadiah, to the son of Akim. And it was so, when they came into the midst of the city, that Ishmael the son of Nathaniel slew them. See, cause they ain't gonna know what was going on. And then them gonna be some people from Samaria. Them gonna be the Sephardims. Them gonna be the Sephardims. And I can show this. Look, if you go to 2 Kings chapter 17. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24. And you're going to see the Sephardims. And the Sephardims was placed in Samaria. Alright, man, I'm right here at it. Alright, the Sephardims going to be placed in Samaria. And then how they came to the Passover dinner and was doing our heritage, and how they would been doing our heritage for 134 years when we got driven out. That's a long time. All right. This is 2 Kings. They're just showing the strangers that come to Samaria who Ishmael and them slayed. Let me see. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuddle, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sephardim. This is in 722 BC, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. Now look, they did, you know what I'm saying? They feared the Elohim and served their own gods, after the manner of the nations whom they carried away. So, you know, them the people from Samaria that they came, they got slaved. You know what I'm saying? And then this will show you that they was at the came to the Passover dinner and was doing our heritage under King Hezekiah. All right. So these will be the Jews that Muhammad would see and know, because the real Israelites ran into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, and we didn't leave the covenant land to go do the covenant in other places and so forth, and how that's been crazy, and how our enemies been getting by real good with that, but how that's coming to an end now. You know, it's good understanding about that. All right, this King Hezekiah showing that all the tribes was home after the Assyrian captivity, and how he sent a letter to everybody. You know what I'm saying? So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remain of you that are escaped out of the hands of the kings of Assyria. So, you know, the Hebrews escaped out of the hands of the king of Syria, and all them Hebrews will be in Judah, because King Hezekiah enlarged the water system. But during the time that King Hezekiah was on a throne, and then he tried to unite all of us. And then, you know, these people would come from the northern kingdom to the Passover dinner, as they was doing during the Babylonian Wars, when Ishmael and them got them. Look, and all the congregation of Judah with the priests. This is 2 Chronicles 30, verse 25. And all the congregation of Judah with the priests and the Levites, and all the congregation that come out of Israel, and the strangers that come out of the land of Israel that dwell in Judah rejoice. So those strangers that would come out of Israel would go to Judah to rejoice at the temple. The same as the people was doing Gedaliah's time. You see what I'm saying? When he chopped them folks up, them folks that men that had came, you know what I'm saying? Man, from that, look, and Ishmael the son of Nathan went forth to Mespah to meet them, weeping all alone as he went. And it came to pass, as he met them, he said to them, Come to Gedaliah the son of Achim. And it was so, when they come into the midst of the city, that Ishmael the son of Nathan slew them and cast them into the midst of the pit, he and the men that were with him. Now remember, look, these were come from Shittim and from Shiloh and from Samaria. That's gonna be them. That's gonna be them Sephardims, the Sephardims, and then they got caught up. Dude caught them up. All right, and so when they were, all right, I'm on 8. But 10 men were found among them that had said unto Ishmael, Slay us not, for we have treasures in the field of wheat and of barley and of all. That sounds just like them buy their way out in the wheelie, in the barley and the wheat and stuff like that was used like a bank and stuff, and they could buy materials and it was money. So, you know, them folks bought their way up out. Look, all right. But 10 men were found among them that said unto Ishmael, Slay us not, for we have treasures in the field of wheat and of barley and of all. Them gonna be the people that settled in our land that was trying to fake the phone play like they was us and got caught up. And of honey, so he forbear and slew them not among their brethren. But the pit wherein Ishmael had cast all the dead bodies of the men whom he had slain because of Gedaliah was it which Asa the king had made for fear of Baasha, king of Israel, and Ishmael the son of Nathan filled it with them that were slain. Then Ishmael carried away captive all the residue. Look, now this is what you got to pay attention to. Then Ishmael carried away captive all the residue of the people that were in Mizpah, even the king's daughter, and all the people that remained in Mizpah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, had committed to Gedaliah the son of Achim, and Ishmael the son of Nathan carried them away captive, and departed to go to the Ammonites. Now he took the people and trying to take them to the Ammonites inheritance. And we know the Ammonite inheritance is the same as the Amorites and the Edomites. You know, he tried to take us there. Look, we're going to see in the map. Alright. He tried to take us there. Alright. See from right over here. There go Gibbar right there. And see, he tried to take us there. But there go them folks that came from summer. They had got tossed up. And there go Shittim and so forth. And there go the Ammonites. And that's taking us on out the way. Taking us on into Edom's and heritage and so forth. The Edom's front door. Alright. And then let's finish reading this. Alright. So Ishmael enslaved some of them Jews that was placed in Samaria. They real slick with, you know, writing and recording our history and try to hide, you know, real history. Then Ishmael carried away captive all the residue of the people that were in Mizpah, even the king's daughter and all the people that remained in Mizpah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, had committed to Gedaliah, the son of Hakim, and Ishmael, the son of Nathan, carried them away captive and departed to go over to the Ammonites. But when Johan, the son of Ker, and all the captains of the forces that were with him heard of all the evil that Ishmael, the son of Nathan, had done, then they took all the men, finna save the Israelite nation. Then they took all the men and went to fight with Ishmael, the son of Nathan, and found him by the water, the great waters that were in Gabon. And it come to pass that when all the people which were with Ishmael saw Johan, the son of Ker, and all the captains of the forces that were with him, then they were glad. I know they was glad. They being kidnapped and being taken to the Edomites, Ammonite, Moabite inheritance for show destruction. And they go to show you, man, how messed up we Israelites can be and can be taken anywhere and be held in hostage in captivity. Is how these folks was being taken to the enemies. Being taken to the enemies the same as how Hebrews are taken to the enemies today. But we see how, you know, the forces, the Hebrew forces stepped in. That's just like now the Israelite Brotherhood represent the Hebrew forces. Look, now it comes to pass that when all the people were with Ishmael saw Johan, the son of Ker, and all the captains of forces that were with him, then they were glad. So all the people that Ishmael had carried away captive from Mizpah cast about and returned and went unto Johan, the son of Ker. But Ishmael, the son of Nathan, escaped from Johan with 8 men and went to the Ammonites. Then took Johan, the son of Ker, and all the captains of the forces that were with him, and all the remain of the people whom he had recovered from Ishmael, the son of Nathaniel, from Mizpah. After that he had slain Gedaliah, the son of Hakim, even mighty men of war, and the women and the children and the eunuchs whom he had brought again from Gabon. And they departed and dwelt in the habitation of Chitham, which is by Bethlehem, to go to enter into Egypt, because of the Chaldeans, for they were afraid of them. You know, they was afraid of them. You know what I'm saying? See, so the Hebrews were saved. Man, we got saved from going to the Edomites' inheritance. We got saved from going into Arabia or the Ammonites' Edomite inheritance, as Tanakh show. So them people in the Tanakh explain this. You know, our history explain this. So the Edomites that had them Jews in their towns, them Arabs, Muhammad that had them Edomites in his town or he was dealing with, are going to be the Sephardims, the people who inherit our land after we was gone. Because remember, Prophet Obadiah said this, and this is way before the Babylonian captivity, man. This is like almost 300 years before the Babylonian captivity. Obadiah 853 BC, the division of Obadiah. This said the Elohim Yah concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Elohim, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, that are greatly despised. And that's like now, them Edomites, they go to show you that they, you know what I'm saying, the enemies. Because if you look in the Israelites community now, here in captivity, all the enemies, all our ancient enemies is gathered around us. They own all the resources in our community and so forth. And that how anybody come in and set up shop in our community that is not us will be fulfilling the curses as an enemy. How it said that our enemies would, you know, have all the wealth and we wouldn't have nothing. I'm going to read that curse in a few minutes. Look. All right, let's see. This is Obadiah 1:3. The pride of thine heart deceive thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, said the Elohim. If thieves come to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would thou not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? And he been hidden from us because our enemies, the Babylonian scribes, give all our old enemies new names in the English language. All right. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All of the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, to men that are at peace with thee, have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith the Elohim, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau, and thy mighty men, old Teman, shall be dismayed. And as I told y'all that Yemen is Teman. Yemen is Teman. That's Eliphaz's sons. That's Eliphaz Edomite's sons' inheritance. Omar is Oman. Oman is Omar. And that's Eliphaz's descendants. His sons. And Eliphaz is a son of Edom. Alright. And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that shall be dismayed to the end that everyone of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For the violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In that day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was as one of them. And I show you how they done been converted, the whole Edomite tribe, to Judaism, and plus they took our land over, as history state. Look, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger, neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither should thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither should thou have delivered up those of his that remain in the day of distress. For the day of the Elohim is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. You know, so many go on to, talk about, Edom's destruction and how Edom is going to get it. And check this out. And how that's could be one of the reasons why them Edomite tribes accepted them Jews as being Israelites to try to skirt their destruction that's coming. It's a lot of stuff that's going on, and our enemies be having some real serious plans that we Israelites be waking up to 100 years later, 75 years later, after our enemies pop the game and stuff on us. Let's go and show that Edom's territory was an enemy to us Israelites. If you go to, it's got to be in Psalms. Let's see. Shalom to the Hebrew community. Check this out. Alright. Keep not thy silence, O Yah. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yah. For lo, thine enemies make a torment, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacle of Edom, the Ishmaelites of Moab, and of the Hagarenes, Gabal and Ammon, and the Amalekites, the Philistines. It go on to name all our enemies and so forth. So we know that ain't no Hebrews went to go live in Medina, and how that the Hebrews were saved from going into Edom, Moabite, Amorite heritage, and how that all those Israelites would go into Africa, as Tanakh showed. So the Jews that Muhammad would be kicking it with, and that would view as the Israelites, man, is incorrect. And then they call them the people of the book. You know what I'm saying? And they are not the people of the book, because they settled in our land, as I showed Ashkenazi history and the Sephardis. Alright, look. The Islamic prophet Muhammad views on Jews were informed through the contract he had with Jewish tribes living in around Medina. His views on Jews include his theological teaching of them as people of the book, but they are not the people of the book. So Muhammad's teachings about the Jews during his time is incorrect, because they were not the Israelites. They are not the Israelites that broke the covenant. The Israelites that broke the covenant said this right here and went into Africa. If you go to Jeremiah 44, and then you get to verse 15. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing to go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of food, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. Now that's messed up. That's what we see. And them Hebrews that went into Africa never returned to the promised land. So we went into Africa to do Egyptian, African, Sahara religion, all the Hebrews, and how no Hebrews left the promised land to go do the covenant in the far off land, because the communication with the Creator was cut off. It was cut off. It was over with. And that would be the only reason for serving a covenant in another land, was to try to establish some communication with the Creator. But that couldn't be done, because the covenant was broken because of the Egyptian religion. And that how all these Jews during Muhammad time would be our enemies that had our heritage for a long time. And how Muhammad would look at them Edomite tribes as being Israelites, and he would base his religion and his teachings on that. And man, it's all wrong. That's just like Christianity. Jesus would go teach Ashkenazi in the Discopolis cities, and how he spent his whole time there.
And how did Jesus, if he would have been black, he couldn't have went to Egypt and hid, because the Greeks been controlled Egypt and the Romans controlled Egypt in 20 BC. But how the Egypt was took over by the Greeks in 332 BC, and how Caucasians poured, men just flocked to Egypt. Thousands of them moved to Egypt, and how it wasn't no black folks, you know what I'm saying, in them parts, and how all the black folks got on down, you know what I'm saying, into the interior of Africa and so forth, and how that, you know, man, it's all messed up. But you see how the people of the book is who the Islamic religion is supposed to correct and be a better version of. But how about that those people are not the Israelites, and that once the covenant was broken, that could nothing change that, and that the Creator it is put everything on pause, and that's when everything on pause is why everybody created these religions. And then we off pause, and we showing that these religions can't stand because they come off falsehood. They come off misconceptions. And dealing with the Creator and his children, Israel, it can't be no misconceptions. You got to know who you dealing with and where they at and what's going on, and how the world been confused, you know what I'm saying, about the real Israelites. But you see how, you know, Muhammad would deal with them Edomite Jewish tribes that had converted under John Harnicus, you know, John Harnicus, you know, Harnicus instituted forced conversion on the Edomites to Judaism, and how that Muhammad would be dealing with them, how he would be dealing with them, and then him dealing with them basing any spirituality or anything associated with the Creator. You know, that's like, you know, the first Kaaba was the book, but they prayed towards Jerusalem, and then how that changed to Mecca. But how that the whole story in dealings with the heavenly host is incorrect, and how that whole history is made up. And I can show that Jews kicked it, you know, with Muhammad the whole time, the Babylonian scribes. So there you go. So, you know, that's just like Christianity. Me and them folks be, you know, coming with all kind of stuff. But it wasn't no Israelites during Muhammad time. So him calling them people the people of the book is incorrect, because they are not the people of the book. And how they got the man, that junk got to be scrapped now. We got to scrap it because it's been exposed. Shalom. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. We ain't going.